About switch. Mic testing, testing. Are we good with mic? All right, hopefully you can hear me. If you are tuning in and watching right now, welcome. We'll be starting in just a minute.
So I can make sure the audio is not over.
All right, this will be our last weekend of our live stream for the holiday gift wrapping with Furoshiki. If you have tuned in last 2 weekends or watched the playback and watching this again, welcome back. And if you're watching this as a recording, I hope you will enjoy what we are going to show you today. Tomorrow, Sunday, will be our last live stream. If you wanted to join us live, you can tune in on our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. We just added our Twitch account because we wanted to try something new as well, to see if there's any interest on Twitch. So if you're watching on Twitch, welcome to my very beginning Twitch stream. I just signed up yesterday on the 18th, so I'm very new. If there's anything that you can give me advice on, please leave me a comment or private message me. We'll welcome those messages. So yeah, we'll be on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch live. Tomorrow will be our last day, but that does not mean we are not going to continue doing live in the future. It's just this year we weren't able to go to a lot of shows, so we're trying new different things.
So if you speak up, it sounds a little overblown, so if you just try to speak in your normal voice, you're plenty audible. So.
Okay, thank you for your audio advice. I have my husband now tuning in. All right, we're gonna go. Hi everybody, my name is Stephanie. Welcome to my live stream today. Today is the 18th of December in 2020, and it's our last weekend of our live stream for the year. Yes, well, it's also our first time doing our live stream this year because we couldn't do all our outdoor arts and craft shows this year at all. So this is why we're doing this. And we wanted to be able to spread the message of Furoshiki gift wrapping. And if you don't know what Furoshiki is, or if you... Okay, I do get all the messages at the very right timing. Let me try to... Oh, the app is closed, but I don't know why. Anyway, we wanted to do this because we want to spread the message of Furoshiki. And in a minute, I'm going to share a little bit more about what Furoshiki is about, the history of Furoshiki, and how you can find the right size Furoshiki to gift wrap, and why you want to gift wrap with Furoshiki. So today, we are going to keep it a little bit more casual and simple. Last 2 weekends was a little bit uptight for me because I felt like I needed to do well on my live stream. But today, I have my red wine. From this company I used to work for, and I'm gonna cheers to you towards the end if I remember, but I'm gonna relax a little bit with red wine. Thanks to my husband for pouring this to me. This is, what was the brand? It was called the Bogo Essential Red. Bogo Essential Red. So I have, in the past, been drinking a lot of Merlot and Pinot Noir. And I have some kind of reaction towards a very specific type of red wine. So I'm trying this essential red this time. So if you're wondering, I'm drinking this. All right, thank you. It actually tastes pretty good, so I'm going to take another sip. All right, so let's go ahead and tune into our slides. Alright guys, so again my name is Stephanie Ip and I am the founder of Sutaibu, which is a sustainable brand, or a brand that we try to promote products that are more sustainable. And it's just not products that you will see in your typical stores these days yet, at least in the States. I don't think I've seen that many Furoshiki shops that are only focused on Furoshiki. But again, we are a new brand, started in 2019, and so we're still exploring ourselves. So if there's anything that we are not good at, or the information that we provided is not accurate, or you think that I should be more elaborative on certain areas, definitely send me a message. I do want to hear from you because I'm not perfect, and all the information that I have learned is my personal knowledge I gained from studying on websites, talking to people, going to the country, and interacting with the locals to learn about the craft of Furoshiki. And then other things that we also do at Sutaibu are art prints. So I hand drawn them. I'm professionally trained as a fashion designer actually. And then I got my interest within textile design. So that's how I started is, textile design, you typically would start from some kind of artwork, and the artwork get turned into some kind of textile, right? So whatever you're wearing that is printed, whether it's watercolor or tonal print, tie-dye, that could potentially be started from an artwork and then turned into textile. But because that area of focus is very, very broad and there's a lot of topics to cover, so then I decide not to focus too much on the process of creating the art, but rather the product that generates from it. So anyway, the products that we focus on right now are Furoshiki. Art prints are coming from standard size that you can decorate your interior home as well as your working desk, from 5 by 7 inches all the way up to 12 by 16 inches. So if you're interested, check out my website at sutaibu.com. You can see all the different artworks that we have, or particularly me, created this past year. Mostly in 2019 when we first started. 2020 has been a lot of face mask making actually. We made a lot of masks for the very first time. And also we sold a lot of Furoshiki because, as we all know, bandana was a suggested product to use as a face mask. So that got a lot of attention, not in the Furoshiki way, but more in the bandana way because of the cloth that we sell. And the cloth that we sell are made with Tencel, Lyocell, which is a sustainable material that is biodegradable, also is very wrinkle resistant, not as soft as silk, but is very similar to the hand feel of it. So in the future, if we do get to meet in person, I usually go to arts and crafts shows. Well, I don't usually go because I just started in 2019, but we have been to arts and crafts shows like Renegade in the States, and then also Jackalope Arts in Pasadena, as well as the 626 night market, night markets, because they have different locations. So they have the 626, which is in the Alhambra, Monterey Park area, and then there's another location which is the OC, Orange County night market, and then they have the NorCal, which is in actually not San Francisco, more in Pleasanton, California. So those are the shows that we have been to, and we enjoy going to all those shows. It was kind of a bummer this year we can't go back, but hopefully next year or the following year we'll get to meet in person again. We also do custom design, so those are areas, art prints and custom design are the areas that we haven't quite, elaborate within my reach yet, because those are areas that focus more on art, and I think the audience who are interested in those two areas are very specific. So right now we want to focus on textile furoshiki because this is the holiday season. A lot of people like to gift wrap, and we wanted to promote the idea of gift wrapping with a second chance, which is wrapping with a product or a material that you can reuse over and over again. All right, I feel like I talked too much in that one particular screen, so here we're gonna skip to the next screen. Oops. All right, sorry about the overskipped screen. So a little bit of history of furoshiki. If you haven't heard of furoshiki, furoshiki is actually a very similar term as origami. If you heard of origami, origami is basically paper folding, and with a square piece of paper, a very standard size, but as origami evolved over the year, it became, I guess, more creative among the creators. So they use different size origami paper, or it doesn't have to be origami paper. As long as it's square paper, you can turn them into little cranes or little figurines that you can either decorate or gift out as a little gift to your loved ones or your friends. And so furoshiki is a very similar concept, except you are folding and wrapping with a piece of square cloth. Ideally, they are finished edges, so they're not raw edges. They are basically like a bandana. They finish all sides of the corners, all sides of the piece of fabric as well as the corners, and they can be obviously reused over and over again because of the material being fabric, right? So furoshiki actually is not something new. Just like origami is not something new, it has been around for a long time, at least 1,000 years old. It's not something I have personally invented. And so if you're interested in learning more about furoshiki, you can go ahead and go on Google and type in furoshiki. You'll find a lot of articles, and actually if you know Japanese, you can also type the word furoshiki in, is it hiragana? I don't, my Japanese is kind of rusty right now, but if you typed it, not in katakana, if you type in hiragana furoshiki, you'll be able to find a lot of things about furoshiki in Japanese, because the Japanese are actually still using the cultural art that's long passed on from, 1,000 years ago. So the idea of furoshiki is basically tying with knots. You don't use any accessories, and you can turn a piece of fabric into like a tote bag or a gift wrap, or many different ways of wrapping depending on how creative you are, and also how you plan on wrapping and the content within that you're wrapping with, right? So it's a very versatile way of either transferring objects from one place to another, or use it as a carrier, like a tote bag, go shopping, go farmers market shopping. What else? You can also gift it out as one way and then turn it into a neck scarf, which I actually kind of covered on my YouTube. If you're interested in checking out my YouTube, there are some videos that you can get some ideas on how to wrap and use with furoshiki. Another thing about furoshiki is that back in the day when furoshiki first started, it actually started from the upper class, particularly the emperor of the country in Japan. They get to have their hands on fabric, because fabric back then was considered a luxury item, just like all these other European countries. They wear a lot of fabric on their body, on their dress, to show off the amount of fabric they personally own, right? So it's kind of a symbolize of luxury item. So back then when they first have furoshiki, actually they're not made with silk or any type of material that I've mentioned. Like the one I use would be tencel. Traditionally it's cotton, and they're printed double-sided. I believe printing double-sided is a high advanced technology back then, so that's why they started doing that, and that became a tradition. Double-sided printing fabric is very rare. If you go to like a craft store or like a fabric store, I bet 99% of the time you won't be able to find double-sided printed fabrics in the store, because it's just so rare and no one really print double-sided, right? But because you're using a piece of fabric to wrap, so therefore, you know, having double-sided printed is actually a good thing, because you kind of want to show the underside of the fabric, and when that shows, you don't want it to look contrasty, like whether the base fabric would be white, then you'll show that side of the fabric. So double-sided printing will kind of covers and beautify the whole thing about furoshiki. However, you know, throughout the years, people started to adopt furoshiki. As you can see those pictures on the bottom, people use furoshiki to travel around within their country, whether it's getting on the train, transporting goods, delivering goods, or just simply going shopping, right? They have bundles of furoshiki either wrapped on themselves. They can, you know, wear it as like a backpack or as a carrier. They are very, as long as it's, you know, sturdily assembled, then it's going to hold it together and not fall apart, right? So the technique right there is how you assembled it. And so for furoshiki today, because the way we live our lives are a lot different than back in the day, back in, you know, the old days, we actually also have the luxury of having many different. Is that, sorry, I do have, oh, actually, never mind. I was seeing a notification. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, so I wanted to say is today the way we live our life are a little different. So then also the fabric technology has advanced. There are a lot of furoshiki options out there. If you shop in Japan, you'll definitely be able to find more of that. But in the States, it's very rare that you'll hear people using furoshiki, which I think is a lost art and should be, you know, promote a little bit more in the States, especially when we are very conscious about how we, you know, treat our materials that we use for our everyday life, such as plastic bag, utensils, like single-use utensils, straws, and all those different types of, you know, little products that we toss away every time we finish using them. I think gift wrapping is no different, as well as turning something from one purpose to a, you know, multiple purpose is something we should always consider when we purchase anything, right? We don't just buy one thing to you know, use for one purpose. Although sometimes if we do choose to have something dedicated to that one purpose, then it's good. However, if we don't continuously use them, then it's kind of a waste, right? So that's a very general idea of what furoshiki is about. And previously, what we have taught, or what I have taught you on my live stream, was a lot of different styles, whether it is wrapping with bottles, that can also turn into a makeup pouch, as well as face mask and scrunchie, which is on the top right corner on the slide. You see that that particular project or idea of turning furoshiki into a face mask and scrunchie is that so you can customize the design on that particular furoshiki. So it's actually our DIY furoshiki kit. You can find it on our website. It comes with, you know, one piece of furoshiki cloth made with cotton, just blank canvas. Actually, they're more like cotton, sturdy cotton, medium weight material. and it comes with a Sharpie, a box, so you can start wrapping with that little kit. And also we covered on how to wrap different styles of boxes. So you see there's 4 different types or different styles and ways you can wrap a box. And also we kind of cover origami a little bit, although that's not my focus. Origami is actually a very sustainable way to decorate your gifts as well, like folding a flower bouquet to decorate it, you know, or adding some leaves depending on what type of paper colors that you choose. And also we kind of cover on how you can wrap a basket. So if you only have a basket and you want to turn it into a little like a tote, or adding handles to your basket, right, then you can use Furoshiki to turn it into a transportable basket set, basically. So finding the right size Furoshiki is a little bit of math behind the idea of using a square cloth. And the idea is not very difficult, so I'm just going to cover it briefly on that screen, and then in real life later on screen I'll show you how you can actually find the right size Furoshiki. So basically you want to know what kind of object you're wrapping first, right? And then you measure the lengths that you are, the longest length that you plan to wrap. So okay, so here's an example. Like if you're planning to wrap a bottle, so you want to know what's the longest length of that bottle, and then when you times it by 3, that length has to stay within the diagonal length of the Furoshiki size. Or if you're going the other direction, like you have an object, you need to know which Furoshiki size to purchase, then you'll have to kind of do a math calculation on your end. Or if you have a particular Furoshiki you have your eyes on from certain stores, then you probably need to look at their dimensions of the Furoshiki. Because typically when you buy Furoshiki online, I haven't quite seen that many options as far as size. Like let's say if you go on Etsy, right? Most of the size are circling around like bandana size or up to maybe 35 inches. However, there's not a lot of variety. And within the Furoshiki world, you know, the creative Furoshiki world, there's actually many different standard size. So if you travel to Japan, you'll be able to find those particular size if you go to the Furoshiki specialty shop, right? And for gift wrapping, generally, you probably want to just wrap small gifts, right? Things that you can place in the box or odd shapes, and then you don't know how to wrap it, such as bottles. So typically for bottles, like let's say if it's a red wine bottle of expensive wine you want to give out, or a jar of, you know, cookie mix that you have customized at home that you want to share with your loved ones and your friends, you want to measure out the longest length of that object. So that will be the height of the jar. And then when you times it by 3 of that length, it has to stay within the diagonal length of the square cloth. So either way, whichever direction you're going, you kind of want to measure out everything before you start wrapping. It's better to have a little bit more room to play with than not enough fabric to wrap, right? All right, so like I mentioned at this slide, we have covered quite different categories of Furoshiki, and I wanted to be honest about this week live stream is that this week I had been very busy with, so I just got married a month ago. So yes, actually, yeah, yesterday was our month anniversary. Woohoo! With my husband now. So I'm a wife now for a month, and we are preparing our wedding gifts to give out or give back to our loved ones, friends, and families. And we have friends and families kind of all around the world. So we wanted to make sure the gift is a little bit more thoughtful and it transport well, and they can consume, because we don't want any like standard type of wedding gifts to give out. And how often, like because I've received a lot of wedding gifts that are just like, you know, standard things that you're like, how am I going to use it? Such as like salt and pepper shaker that has like a lovebird in it, or a lovebird salt and pepper shaker. I don't even know where that salt and pepper shaker went. And I've received, what else have I received? Things that are not consumable, so they could be like little trinkets. I don't remember exactly because, actually, I think the last wedding that we have went, we didn't have any wedding favors. Mostly it was just, at the end it was like cake. And then it would be like the photo booth and you can take a few strip of pictures home, and that's what we got. But like I said, I've also got stuffed toys, which, you know, you just put it at home and you're like looking at it, what are you going to do with it, right? So we wanted to give out something a little bit more practical and they can consume. However, if we shipped it overseas, whatever that thing is needs to also not be breakable. So during the vows exchange session, we kind of, or mostly I guess I came up with an idea of a metaphor between me and my husband's relationship and personality differences, and we came up with a comparison to hot chocolate and marshmallows. And so we wanted to kind of give that to our loved ones to share with them as well. So I also wanted to incorporate the idea of Furoshiki so people will have more understanding of what Furoshiki is about. Anyway, the past couple of weeks I've been really busy with the, I guess, gift wrapping, because there is so many to give out. And I mean, one person, you can't do everything, right? You have to bottle the jar, you have to inspect the jar, wash the jars, fill the jars, package and seal the jars, and then you have to wrap the jar. And then after wrapping is not done, you have to think about how you're going to ship it out. During transportation, need to make sure that it doesn't break, right? So those were all the steps that was really time consuming, and I wanted to share a video of the process because I also created a video of the whole entire process. So here it is. I wanted to share a video of the process. One second. Let me see if I can get out of this screen. How do I?
Looks like it's showing it.
No, but I can't, sorry. I need to first be able to click on that screen, but I can't even click on that screen. All right, here we go.
trying hard to pretend that I'm okay. It's just a phase, and everything's going just great. I think about you a lot. It's almost like I can't stop. Can't stop. Yeah, yeah.
All right, I'm back because I need to turn off that screen. So that was a little video that I've been spending time on the most, and as well as wrapping it. So I just wanted to show you a little bit of the idea behind this whole thing, and I'm going to show you how you can wrap it today. So basically there are 2 jars, and do you mind giving me 2 jars over there? We just have jars laying all over the place, trying to finish wrapping so we can deliver today all together to our local deliveries. So these are the bottles that we got from Amazon, and they're actually pudding jars, I believe. So here's how I'm going to show you how you can wrap this little bundle. All right, so here's my overhead view. As you can see, I have my square cloth here. And the square cloth that we have used for this particular one is 20 inch. And I wanted to show you how I actually measure out. Okay. So the first thing you wanted to find out, like I said earlier, is the longest length of the object, right? Going back to the front view. The longest length of the object would be the height of the object, right? So the height of the longest length of the object is around 3.25 or 3.5, just an approximate, right? And what you want to do is that 3.25, let's just say it's 3.5, times it by 3, it will be 9, 10.5, right? So that's the longest length you will add up to is 10.5. I hope my math is correct. And the diagonal length of this wrap, this furoshiki, this 20-inch furoshiki is 28.5 inch. All right, so that means this size furoshiki will work perfectly. However, I do have another example here. And this particular example is actually, I think my camera is a little crooked for some reason. I don't know why. I think my camera is not straight. So sorry about that if you are twisting your neck just to see that little angle. But anyway, you get the idea, is to find the length of the diagonal. And this is a 17-inch furoshiki, which is the DIY furoshiki cloth that I've shown earlier. And the diagonal length of this one is 24.5. So technically, this furoshiki will also fit within this furoshiki. However, because I wanted to create that cute little ribbon on top, so I used a little extra room to wrap with a 20-inch furoshiki. And that is the reason why I have a 20-inch furoshiki. All right, so today, you don't have any empty jars, right? Do we have any empty jars? we do have empty jars, so we want to try not to mess up with our party favors here. Thank you. All right. So what you want to do first is to place your object diagonally right in the center of the Furoshiki cloth. Right? Diagonally means the top of the object needs to be pointing the corners of your Furoshiki, right? And usually a Furoshiki wrapping technique starts from the middle center of the cloth. Occasionally you'll wrap from one corner to another, but generally a lot of the technique starts from the center. All right, the second thing you want to do is to also think about where you want your corners to finish. So it really depends on, you know, the type of fabric you're using. If you're using a fabric that is an overall print, which overall print means that it repeats the same way all over the whole entire cloth, then you don't have to worry about how the finished product would look, because for this particular one, the finished product is a little bit different from the center to the back, right? And then as well as the little knots on top. So for this reason, I wanted to consider how I'm gonna wrap it before I start wrapping it. In this particular cloth that I use, because it's my own Furoshiki, I have my own little label here in the corner of one of the corner, and I do want to kind of, you know, show that off too towards the end of the wrap, so I have to consider that part. And do I want certain direction of the stripe to look a certain way? That's another part you want to consider if you're using a fabric that is, you know, only designed as a placement print like this one. For this particular one, there's like a giant circle in the middle and my logo in the center for placement purposes, also as a branding purpose. And then I had my illustration, which are iris florals around the ring. Having a circle that is not even actually is a good way to add a little bit more elements to your design. If you're interested in designing your own Furoshiki, that's a little tip right there. All right, so because I want to finish with my logo right here, then I want to place my bottles pointing towards that angle, that corner. So first thing you want to do here is to pick up the bottom corner here and then wrap it over. All right, and then once you have that, you want to kind of tuck the fabric around the bottles and make sure they are tightly around the bottles. All right, the tighter the better, but obviously you don't have to be too rigid on how tight it is. As long as it's hugging it, I think it will be sturdy enough for you to keep it together. And then as you're ready, you start rolling towards the top corner. All right. And then once you have the top corner sitting right on top in between the two bottles right here, you kind of want to put your finger right in the middle and kind of separate these two bottles. And what you're going to do next here is a little bit tricky, but it will be very satisfying once you get it right? You want to pick up one tail and then start, and then you want to pick up the other one actually too. And then once you're ready, you actually pull the two bottles up. However, because I want it to be a very tight wrap, what I usually would do is to kind of separate the bottles, because I've done it so many times this past 2 weeks. I wanted to because I've done it so many times this past 2 weeks, I had developed a technique, I guess, on how to wrap faster and neater. So this is a little trick, is to separate the bottles a little bit away, and then also kind of press it and then lift, press and then lift, and then when you're ready on the other side, you can lift the other side. Right, so this is let me see if I can show you a close-up here. Is it not? All right, here we go. Here's the close-up. So the close-up, as you can see, the wrap here, the corners are kind of draping towards the center together, which is indication of that it's actually, these two bottles are actually sitting right in the center, so it's a good thing. And what you want to do next here is to make sure your bottles are tightly sitting towards the bottom here, right? So then your bottles will be tightly secured, and in a minute I'm going to show you why you want it to be secure. All right, so once you have that gripped, then you go ahead and tie it left over right. You want to tie a square knot. So if you don't know what a square knot basically is the opposite of a dead knot. You tie your tails from left to right, and then with the same tail left, and then go from left to right again. And then before you actually tighten the knot, you kind of want to fix your tail. Make sure, because I'm not using a double-sided furoshiki, I want to make sure it lays nicely, so not a lot of white or the under side of the fabric is showing. So what I do here is I kind of spread my, I guess you can call it the ribbon, and then I pull as I spread the ribbon. So it's a little bit more fluffy, and you can play around with how you want to decorate towards the end too. You can even tuck in so this particular style, I shouldn't be flipping it because I don't want my cocoa to be shaking around. So for this particular style, I just left the tail hanging or loose. But I was going to show you that you can actually take one corner of the tail and then tuck it under. Let me see if I can do a close-up. Tuck it under towards the knot. In that case, you'll get like a little ribbon. Again, not a real ribbon, but it's kind of like a stand-in ribbon. Right there, let me make sure it stays in place, this one. Alright, so again, the close-up here is once you tuck in the tail, it will have this little ribbon effect. Okay, so there you have it. You can decorate it however you want, depending where you're showing front or back side. I think it looks very cute. And also, another thing here is that you can gift it out as a little handle. I mean, it depends on the size of the bottles or the wrap that you end up with, right? I don't have a pre-wrap one, but if your bottle is longer and you kind of want to have a little handle, this knot actually kind of serve as a handle, right? And you can carry it, and the bottles are not going to be clinking with each other. It'll stay very sturdy. All right. So this live is only 1 hour, and I know I started a little bit later. And today I really wanted to just kind of show you a little recap, I guess, on the past 2 weekends, what we have covered and what you can wrap with this holiday. And today I showed you what you can possibly do with hot cocoa, plus a little customizable jar that you can put in anything you want and wrap with it. And you can put maybe planting seeds. Doesn't have to be anything consumable, but our idea was that specific. So depending on your choice of creativity, you can place whatever item in there and then wrap it. Let me see if I have enough time. Okay, I'll do another Furoshiki demo today because we only have 10 minutes left. But tomorrow, tune in again if you're interested. We will have other styles that I'll cover. So,
Before we do that, can I try something? Mind if I close a bunch of these windows? It might be lively things.
okay, you can close it. All right, so my technical support husband just wanted me to turn something off because I think the video quality may not be as good.
Do I have to keep this on?
The chat?
No. The caster window.
It's better if you keep it on to make sure that it's running, and also when we do this.
Okay. Alright.
Alright, so here we go back over to the overhead view here. Over here we have a collapsible box. Obviously you can use any kind of box, but today I'm just going to demo you a different technique that I did not teach the past weekends. And again, today's live stream is a little bit more improvised than the past weekend because I want to be a little bit more relaxed compared to my previous weekends. So, as I've mentioned earlier, you want to find the longest length of the object. So this particular box is 7¼ inch wide, which is the longest length of the box. If you're not sure the size or which side is the longest length, then obviously you can measure out everything to decide which Furoshiki would be the right size. And I wanted to use a Furoshiki that is 20 inch. Also, again, depends on the style you are planning to wrap. But today's demo here is a 20 inch. All right. So again, let me just show you how this Furoshiki looks like. These two corners doesn't have any flowers, and these two has flowers. Again, there's the logo right in the center for placement, suggestion, and purposes. So what I want to do here is to think about where I want to finish. Again, I want to finish with my logo, so I put it on top. So the first thing you want to do here is place your object right in the center. Diagonally, the longest length has to be facing the finished corner. So this is my finishing corner. All right. The next thing I want to do is pick up the opposite corners and tie a square knot. And I'm going to go in and fix those little under fabric that is showing to make sure it doesn't show as much. You know, furoshiki is the idea of gifting as well as letting the person who is receiving it to enjoy when they first open it or when they first see it, right? So just like gift wrapping, we want things to look nice and neat. If this is a gift wrap, then we want it to look nice and neat. I hope everybody has their gift ready to give out for next week, because next week is gift exchange season week. I know not everybody observes Christmas, so I try not to use the word Christmas too much, but next week is gift exchange. All right, so once I have my cute little bow or, you know, knot here, I'm ready for the next step. So the next step is to make sure also that your box is still in the center. And I usually like to make my corners cleaner. However, it really depends on your aesthetic. If you want it to be loose looking, go for it. But I like it to be a little bit tighter. So I make sure my box is tight and neat and in the center. Another thing is that you can do if you have a cloth that has that kind of center placement is, you know, the logo will then be in the center if there's a logo in the center for you to look at the placement. So as you can see, I'm a little bit off here, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect again. And the next thing you want to do here is to lift the non-finishing corner up. And what I like to do here is to have a clean edge. I'm going to go over to the close-up view so you can see how I find the clean edge. All right, so how you find a clean edge is to pull one corner or the corner that you're planning to flip over and use your fingers to warp and mold around the box until you find this cute fold, or clean fold rather, over here. All right, once you have that, you want to tuck it under the knot here. And you can go back in to fix it if it started moving, right? The little corners that, you know, you are trying to keep it clean. Another thing is it may start moving around the object inside. So you want to kind of make sure it's still in place in the middle. And also you want to keep those corners folds clean, right? So the next and last step is to pick up the other corner here, right? Again, you find your clean edge over here. Okay, once you find that, then you are going to flip over to the top, and then you're gonna tuck under within all the layers. So depending on your taste, if you like to keep those little ribbons peeking out, it'll be cute to keep it out too, but I think the typical furoshiki wrap that you probably have seen around are kind of like this one. So it kind of creates a clean fold finish right here. So you don't see any fabric edges whatsoever because you kind of hide it all, right? So that's another way that you can wrap a box, okay? Do I have, yes, I do have an example here. So previously I also taught how to wrap a cube box. So cube boxes, equal side everywhere. And on top we have little ribbons that looks like ribbons, right? And the whole gift actually do look like a gift, right? I think it does. Without the use of ribbons. It's actually just one furoshiki that's 20-inch and a scrunchie to create this little fold here. All right, so that kind of concludes today's live stream. If you're watching, thank you so much for watching towards the end of this live stream. I hope you learned something and get inspired by the little things I've shared today. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave me a comment, write me a message, however you want to connect with me. I would love to hear from you. And I always am learning, so if you have any tips on how to wrap better with fabric or furoshiki or streaming, for instance, or even how I should present myself or how I should do my hair, how I should do my makeup, you can message me. I would love to hear from you. Again, I always want to connect with my audience, so if you're watching, thank you so much for watching. If you like this live stream and you're watching a playback of the video, you can also subscribe to our channel, like the video, so next time when I have a new video coming up, you'll be the first to know. All right, enough of me talking. I'll let you get back to be creative. Bye.